खेल रेडियो में आपका स्वागत है. I'm Riya Mishra, the co-founder and host at Khel Radio. I hope we've been able to bring some really interesting content to you, and we promise that we'll strive to continue doing so. In the first part of the first episode on the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup India edition, we spoke to Mr. Randeep Barua and Mr. Abhishek Sharma about the opportunities that an event like the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup brings to a country like India. In the second part of the first episode, we speak to Ms. Ashalata Devi, the captain of the Indian women's national football team, Ms. Aditi Chauhan, the goalkeeper of the Indian women's national football team, and Ms. Philarima, who is the co-founder of Women's Footy India, the largest fan base of women's football in India. We speak about the importance and challenges in achieving a level playing field for women in football in India and achieving gender parity in sports. Finally, in this third and last part of the first episode, we speak about the role that various stakeholders can play in the development of women's football in India, and the panelists share their favorite sporting moments. So stay tuned, and I hope you have a great time.
In terms of grassroots development and everything, fans themselves should take up the initiative to go and watch and support and spread the word around such tournaments and leagues which are happening for women. And also, like, people should have initiatives like She Kicks, which I can see in the background of Aditi's image, which is a flagship initiative run by her. And I would want to know more about it from you, Aditi. But first, my question is to Randeep sir. Sir, I would like really want to understand, like, in terms of infrastructure and in terms of breaking development of women's football down to like basic logistics, what different different things are needed in terms of like institutional support or, for example, infrastructure, because I'm sure that there's a lot which is at the institutional level, there's a lot which is which should be done differently when it comes to women football, because we also have to ensure proper like safety and security and a lot of other concerns which are different from the scenario of men's football. So I would really love to know more about it from you, since you are associated to
Look, I won't say it's different from the men's in that regard, but yes, developing women's infrastructure is different for sure, and you have to be very particular about a lot of things that you want to get right. One of the five pillars of FIFA's tenets on women's football and development of women's football is to ensure a proper infrastructure, a women-centric infrastructure that should be built by member associations and clubs and all of that. And I think it's a very important aspect. As far as my working in this space is concerned, it's something that I have been trying to work on. uh you know I want the places that are being provided to our players to be safe, first and foremost. I want them to be secure. I want them to have, of course, the basic amenities, and whatever I can add to that, I would love to do that. And it should be a good place for them to stay in. Like a couple of players, they said, our past experiences weren't that great. It was really hot. We didn't have ACs and stuff like that. Now we have ACs in all the rooms for them. It's a small, basic little things. You need to give them the feeling of being a professional player, or at least try to aspire for that bit of professionalism. So you take care of their living conditions and their good hygienic living conditions. You take care of their food and nutrition. And honestly, I'm learning it from girls like Aditi and Asha and others whom I speak to, professional players. I take their advice. I speak quite a bit to Aditi, and I get to understand what it takes. Because let's face it, I did not come with all the expertise of women's football into this space. It is also something that I am learning, but I want to give back as much as I can. So for me to understand what makes them secure as a professional footballer is what I will always aspire to bring to them. So good training grounds, gym facilities, nutrition. They have these proteins and all of that stuff. Whatever keeps them healthy, a proper diet for them to follow. But most importantly, competition and matches, more competitive opportunities for them to participate in tournaments. Uh, for the under 17 girls team. They were playing with us practically 2 3 times a week with the Odisha state women's team, which helped the state women's team develop as well as the under 17 girls develop as well. So that sort of opportunities that you need in the ecosystem around you, wherever you go in every state, give the opportunity to girls for girls to come out and play football, right? But give them proper training grounds, dedicated spaces for them to feel secure about, and also professional help and opportunities where they need to discuss things that uh, that maybe they're not comfortable discussing just about with everyone. You have to give them their space. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel
On
that
that
these
note,
are
that I
small
think
little
that's
things
very right. I think
that
when you
make the
mention,
big difference. That's
yeah,
I think it's the small things that make the big difference. And
yeah,
unless you start giving them these things, we're talking about equality and parity and stuff like that. uh, I'll take you back to 10 years. Why 10 years? I'll take you back now. A lot of clubs still don't have that. A lot of so-called professional clubs don't have that. uh, and I was working in football in 2008, and here I am in 2022, 14 years down the line. What is happening with men's football there is now happening with women's football here, because it's on that stage of growth. But until and unless we start focusing on providing the right infrastructure, and look, we are not going to get it right in first shot. We are not. Okay. But we have to keep learning. And girls like Aditi, who have seen this international, who have been exposed to that international level of what it really takes to have that sort of infrastructure, they are the ones we can learn from. Tomorrow we can learn from Manisha and Soumya and others, and we start sending out our own players and we learn from them, or we start, like, we have a partnership with Hawaii in Brazil. They play in the Brasileirão Feminino, which is the top league, right? And one of the things we want to do is to have our players go and gain experience by playing there, bring their players on loan when we can for the for the IWL and stuff. But also there has to be a bit of knowledge exchange. How are you running the club infrastructurally? What are you doing to make it a good place for them to for the players to come and be at? How are you helping them with your education? Like I told you about the 18, 19-year-olds I have, how I want to take care of their education. But why just them? Why not provide more holistic life skills to the older girls, like even Pyari included, help them with stuff that they can be more confident about being a national team player, help them with a bit of etiquette learning and grooming. That's one thing that you can always help them out to take care of themselves. See if you can work with someone to provide them with self-defense classes, because the off season is long, right? And there are not enough matches to do so many things, but you fill up that calendar until an AIFF or somebody steps in and says, look, right, this is your football calendar. This is what we are focused on right now. But you want these girls to, and you want to give them more holistic an expansion of their abilities and their lives, rather than just keeping them for a couple of months and getting them to play football, and that's about it. So your infrastructure has to be built around a plan that is long term and that's beneficial for the players, that's beneficial for the club to grow as well. And you are constantly learning, because I think a lot of lessons that could have been taken in 2008 are still not being implemented today by the men's teams. So for the women's, we have to be slow, but we have to be sure as well. You cannot mess this up, right? Because you want to do this right, you do it right. Let it take a bit of time, but do it right, and you gain more perspective by more exposure and more experience that you can get from the others around you. And that's where players with more experience or officials with more experience, even Abhishek and his agencies who are working at an international level, they help bring that sort of knowledge and information to you, and you start working on those. You start providing better opportunity, better infrastructures for for the girls to play in, because also no one thing, not every men's team out there has access to very good infrastructure. Okay, that's where what Abhishek says is the public-private partnership. It makes a big difference in
None
the
of the
question for
ISL
Risha
teams,
is
apart from ATK Mohan Bagan, have their own ground. As basic as that. None of
yeah.
these ISL teams have their own ground.
No, but there is a way
You know,
around that too, because
correct,
maintaining a ground is not easy. Okay, you can put a
correct,
ground up, but it's not easy
correct,
to maintain a ground. But you have access, and you can build closer relationships with the government around you, with the people out there who have that
correct,
existing infrastructure and want to make
correct.
use of it. So
Correct. No, for example, why I named the ground was, for example, the BFC Kanterwa controversy that has been going on forever. So what he was also trying to say, and what I'm trying to say in generic, is also that infrastructure is not what you're just trying to build or something in the long term that you're going to do, but clubs have to take the initiatives to get their first basic components right. And at the end of the day, you be it any club or any franchise or anything like that, you want to be profitable. We've not even reached that stage of saying, oh, are we going to be profitable? This is what we're investing in. These are hard hitting questions that will come. This is trial and error. Like Randeep said, we're learning, we are trying to pick up this and providing the basics. Like he said, I think it's a given to, he's absolutely right. लड़कियों को ना सिंपल बेसिक चीजें ही नहीं मिलती है, तो वो द कॉन्वर्सेशन ऑफ जेंडर इक्वालिटी एंड ऑल इज लाइक वे फार. उनको बेसिक न्यूट्रिशन नहीं मिल रहा है, एजुकेशन नहीं मिल रहा है, एंड बेसिक्स. सो आई थिंक what he's saying, I think I like the vision that they have. Get your basics right and then take it step by step and it's a learning process.
also, sorry, Avi, one more thing I want to add. When we talk of infrastructure, we often forget about the human infrastructure that is being pumped into a club. So you want
Correct,
to get the better coaches, the good coaches,
correct.
the more licensed coaches. You want licensed coaches or people with a vision, but more importantly, who are invested in women's football. You want that first. Okay, and that is one of the learnings that I got from the president at Avai when I had a conversation with him. Is like when you are going for a coach, find someone who is invested in developing women's football, not just who looks at it as an opportunity or a platform to go from one step or to the other. And that is what, as clubs, we need to do more focusedly. And that's why we have Crispin, who is really focused on this, and he shares the vision that we do. And likewise, the other day, sometime back, I asked Aditi. I said, get your coaching badges because we have a massive lack of goalkeeping coaches right now. All right, Aditi is an experienced player. She's led the country, and she's somebody that the girls look up to. But at the same time, she's at the right age to get her badges, so that it becomes a transition for her. Maybe 5-6 years down the line, or whenever
और
she
मेहनत
wants
मत
to.
करा यार रणदीप,
But
ऑलरेडी प्लेयर एज अ प्लेयर
so,
एज अ
Do
प्लेयर बहुत मेहनत कर ली.
listen to
do
me. Listen to me.
journalism,
Coaches have
it
to be the
fits in.
fittest, you know.
Listen, it fits in, Baba. It fits in, and I'll tell you why. Because when you come with that experience and that learning already. All you need is a badge, because it also becomes not like you need a job
No,
off,
I
but
get your point, but I'm saying कि इतना आसान भी नहीं होता ना गोलकीपर कोचिंग करना.
so it will
गोलकीपर
come.
कोचेस को तो सबसे ज्यादा मेहनत लगती है.
It's so
लेट मी
no, but
प्लीज, मैंने बहुत मेहनत कर ली एज अ प्लेयर.
do it for say play for another 4 or 5 years, but start doing your badges now. You don't have to complete it overnight. Take your time and complete it, but do it because the players need people like you. The players need players like you.
Aditi, it's time for you to make money. So do the
वही
ISL,
तो
do
मैंने
all of
बोला,
this.
वही तो
हाँ,
बोल रही
do.
हूँ.
I will always tell you, yes, I get Randeep's point, but I will always want you guys to make money.
Yeah.
So yes,
High
get
time we get some money out of everything
See,
that
you
we've
can be a
done.
player coach also, no? You can earn money twice. But listen to me. My point is very simple. I think the more players get into coaching, and I've seen how that helps even in the men's team. Like Ren, when I saw him at East Bengal, I was Randy. When I saw him at East Bengal, I was so happy. And he stood his ground in the ISL because he's a good coach and he's also an ex-player. Someday I want to see Asha coaching as well. I want, like, I see Chevem coaching. It makes me so happy because you know I want more players to get into coaching and developing the players, because the players that you are coaching are going to learn from you. But you're the ones who are their inspiration. And imagine seeing their being on the same pitch as you and learning from you. It's a different feeling. Now these girls, they know that Crispin's an ex-player. He's played for Mohan Bagan and others. they get excited by the fact that they are sharing the stage and space to learn from somebody who's been there and done that. So, Ati, take your time, but make sure you get the batches. I'm not going to leave you. I swear I'm not going to leave you on that. But
Aditi and Asha make money.
हाँ,
मैं तो डिप्रेशन में चली जाऊंगी कोच बन जाते तो
क्या डिप्रेशन
या हार्ट अटैक
We should not let
दोनों
this.
से एक तो जरूर होगा इसलिए
I-
मैंने हार मान लिया पहले से
I think मुझे किसी और को इंस्पायर करना पड़ेगा तो फिर करना पड़ेगा
मैं
दोनों से
मेरे
तो
को एडवाइस दोनों y'all are both my friends. I care about you guys. Retirement और ये सब आने से पहले start making money, do commentary, do whatever it helps you, but do that. Give it back to the system. Like Randeep, I would rather say no. I'll tell you what, because I understand them. You are
I don't
thinking,
understand them. You're telling me I don't understand.
no. I know you do, but you are still looking at it in a very different way than I would look at.
It's just this
Okay.
both of like it's obvious. I understand what you're saying, and this is very important. I think as a player, I would also, if I had those qualities,
Can
and
give back to the system. Yeah, give
yeah,
back to.
I would give back as a coach, but I feel my role or my way of
The
giving back
journey.
is very different.
Yeah.
And I'm happy.
I think you guys are already giving back with
Yeah.
the
I
She-Kicks
think-
program that you
Look, I
started.
think fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's not just she kicks, I
in
feel
your
like
own way.
whatever things that I'm getting involved in, whatever things the opportunities that are coming my way, I think I always do those things with an intention of giving back and doing something bigger than myself.
Correct.
It is not about me or, that I am a goalkeeper or I play football. It is about the football community, about women in sports, about women, in entrepreneurship or any field that I am involved in. I just feel like it is a bigger, it is that I'm representing something bigger than myself.
Bigger, yeah, correct.
So and same with football also. Every time I speak to the youngsters, it is always from a place where I want to help them and tell them about my journey and whatever I can help them with. Similarly with She Kicks, and I think Kasha's doing also the same things. It's just our different ways of being involved, giving back, and still hoping and contributing in the development of women's football.
Look, I completely get you. So don't get me wrong when I say I want you to do your batches, right? But what I mean is I don't ever want to see you girls get out of the sport at any level. And I love that you stay involved with She Kicks. And you know what a big fan I am of She Kicks. In fact, I should take this off and wear my She Kicks t-shirt. Why didn't I think of that before? But anyway, I totally support the way that you want to go about in inspiring the girls and keeping yourselves involved in the game. And it does not necessarily have to be as a coach, as an administrator too. Exactly. You can do that. You will find.
I'd love to do the coaching matches anyway, because obviously I feel like it gives, whilst when I started doing commentary, I saw the game from a different perspective, and when you're talking about it feels so different from when you're on the field and you're experiencing those moments.
It's very different.
The field in that moment. So obviously to understand the game better, I definitely want to do my batches, but I don't know about actually being on the field to coach others.
And you should inspire and push Asha also to get into commentary and journalism and all.
मैं तो सब कुछ ही करने को बोल रही हूँ, मैं तो बोल ही रही हूँ. I'm saying you should model. You should be a model also.
Why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. But you are a model. You are a role model. That's for sure. But other than that too, I think it doesn't matter whether you're coaching or not. As long as you're involved in the sport and you're giving back to the young girls coming through who look at you as inspiration, then it's good enough, really. And I look at Philarima as well. She's involved with developing football in Meghalaya, as far as I know. She's working with another very close friend of ours called Arki Nongrum. And I know Arki is a great person to learn from, and she's doing her own bit and she's standing on her own feet. And the more women representatives we have in football is what I really need.
Yeah.
For the sport to move forward.
What the system needs at the end
what
of
the
the
system
day.
needs. I can say myself selfishly.
100%. And just adding to that, I also feel that obviously it's just amazing what Randeep is doing with the club and the structure and obviously the experience that he has. But he's trying to put the structure in. But I just realized that ultimately he's a guy. He's not a girl who's fought the odds and gone against their family, or
Had those challenges.
had to struggle all of that at the normal society, and be a footballer or look for opportunities to play football. So I think obviously he tries to understand. He talks to a lot of people, including me. But I think जो लड़कियां who go through it, who feel that, it's very different, and it's so very, very important. Like Randeep said and Abhishek said, we need to have those women who are passionate about sports, whether they've played it or not, or just like passionate about developing sports and giving this opportunity to others. We want more of that in developing sports in India, I think, generally.
Philarima is a dragon on Twitter. Okay. If anything that goes for women's football and all, trust me, guys, she's the most vocal person. I have learned a lot about women's football. Of course, I talk to Aditi, I talk to you,
Yeah.
I get to know. But she's the one also who's educated me a lot about women's football, because she's so involved. And I think one point she touched was, I would love to hear more from her, is that the community aspect. Yeah, कोई भी sport में और कहीं पर भी, if that community aspect grows, then only it grows. And like she said, ये northeast में बहुत ज़्यादा है. So it's like an example that we can see from the northeast and maybe implement it in different places, to see, like she said, no, these Manipuri girls coming from that specific clubs. There are clubs in Shillong that I have seen, who are so community oriented, and the community help them participate and do things. So I think these are very interesting ways to look at it.
Yeah.
And she is very good at what she does as a women's football fan.
Yeah, she is. I follow Philarima as well on Twitter, and it's very
Dragon
interesting.
fire, I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
it's very interesting to read her views. And when you talk about the community, and of course the Northeast is there, the three Northeasterns here on the panel itself. But out here, I can speak for Risha because I'm here. There are these pockets where women's football is so popular. Sundargarh area, Sambalpur area. There's a place called Ali in Kendrapara, and what they really need is more focused training, coaching opportunities, more focused opportunities to come out and express themselves and play football and competitions and stuff like that, because there are just these grassroots community coaches doing their bit, and it's not very much, and that needs more. That needs to happen more, not just in the Northeast or Orissa, but across the country. And Jharkhand today, because we were talking about the under 17 girls coming from the 7 of them or 6 of them or whatever, they have it's all very disorganized and amateur right now, and some of that is good, but at some point, if we want to get to that stage of parity and if we want to get to that stage of equality, we have to start looking at these centers and developing them as well. And that is where I think ultimately the whole private public partnership comes into place. And as far as the Odisha government being as supportive as it is, I would sincerely hope that other governments do follow Odisha's path and really provide that opportunity and the infrastructure for girls to really enjoy their football as a career, and not just something that they do, other than a job elsewhere. So I think that's yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
I think this was a very meaningful conversation. I think everyone took away a lot from this. And I think this is the right time to, this is for Aditi, Ashalata, and Philarima. As sports persons, Aditi and Ashalata, and as the face of a fan club, Philarima, what are your key moments your favorite moments, not even key moments, your favorite moment as a sports person on field? I think so. We conducted, context for this is we conducted an informational survey, and we wanted to know what people are interested in knowing about in this podcast, because we do not want to have a generic conversation. So we tried to understand what people wanted, and a lot of people were really interested in your journeys as sports persons, making it to the national team. So what are your favorite moments as sports persons, Aditi and Ashalata?
I think for me, the first moment that comes to my mind was, my first experience of playing football, because initially it started off as just another sport. I was playing multiple sports at the time.
Right.
But as soon as I got that first exposure to a competitive football match, that was the time when it just felt different. The other moment was when I got my first national team jersey. I think that was a real turning point in my life for me, for my parents as well, because everyone was present. It was in Delhi, so everyone was there, and I think obviously before that, my dad was a little apprehensive. He didn't really understand football and women's football. Kya hai. But coming from a military background and maybe seeing that badge and representing the country and that honor and everything, I think that really hit him and kind of convinced him ki, haan, this is the path that I want to take and let me just carry on wherever this goes.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, moments of representing the country. I think Brazil match is something that is really, really close to my heart. And the recent match against USA under 23, we played in Sweden. Again, I think for personal performance kind of place,
Yeah.
I was really happy as a goalkeeper to
You were outstanding in that game. You were outstanding in that, and it's very unlucky that we
I know.
That score line, but you were really good in that game. I think.
Thank you.
Seriously.
And of course, the latest one would be the the second title win with Gokulam. It was crazy. I mean, obviously we had a strong team, but it's on the final, never how you imagine or never comfortable. It's always competitive and interesting, and it was very interesting this time. But I think these are the couple of highlights in my journey. But I'm also very thankful for everything that's happened off the field for me in this journey. I think that has also played a very important role for me to continue on the field and continue my on-field journey.
Bilkul. Absolutely. So I think your key moments are key moments for Indians also as players. Everything great you do is something to be proud of for us also. So which is why I think everybody was so interested in knowing your stories. So Ashalata, I think we would love to hear what your favorite moments from on the field are.
जब मैंने पहली बार जो खेला था, मतलब मैंने बॉल को मतलब किक करने का जो मौका मिला था, वो जब मैं शायद 13 या 14 इयर्स की थी शायद. सो वो दिन मुझे कभी नहीं भूल सकते, क्योंकि वो उसी दिन से मुझे मतलब बहुत जितना मेरे को एंजॉय करते थे वो चीज़, उसकी वजह से मैंने फुटबॉल स्टार्ट किया था. और जैसे अदिति ने बोला है कि जो इंडिया का जो जर्सी मिला था, तो मतलब बहुत खुशी मिली है. पर मुझे मेरे लाइफ में वो चीज समझ में नहीं आया था, क्योंकि मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया कि ये जर्सी का मतलब वैल्यू क्या है और मैं कहाँ तक जाने वाले हूँ. बट मैं जब अंडर 17 में जब सिलेक्शन आउट किया था, मतलब मिला था, तो काफी मेरा क्लोज फ्रेंड सिलेक्शन आउट हो गए थे, तो वो हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा इमोशनल हो गए थे. और मेरे को जब सिलेक्शन के बाद जो खुशी मिलते थे, वो खुशी बिल्कुल नहीं मिल रहा था. मैं मतलब उन लोगों के साथ बहुत ज्यादा इमोशनल हो गए. और जब वहां से जब मलेशिया, तो मलेशिया गए थे और मैं ऐसे स्टेडियम में पहली बार खेलने का मौका मिला और ऐसे जगह पे हमने स्टे किया, तो मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा एक्साइटेड हुई थी. और मुझे ऐसे लगा कि मुझे इससे बेटर और भी करना है, मतलब और मेहनत करना है.
बिल्कुल.
तो दोनों मूवमेंट मेरे लिए मतलब इस टाइम पे बहुत स्पेशल था मेरा मूवमेंट. और जब ओलंपिक जब क्वालिफाई राउंड 2 जब क्वालिफाई हुआ था, वो हम लोग पता नहीं था कि सेकेंड राउंड क्वालिफाई होगा कि नहीं. बट जब ऐसे ही पता चला है कि हम लोग सेकेंड राउंड क्वालिफाई हो गया है, सो वो मूवमेंट मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकते, क्योंकि बहुत मतलब हम लोग ने बहुत मेहनत किया था एज ए टीम. और मतलब काफी ऑफिसर और मतलब बहुत ज्यादा मेहनत थे, तो वो चीज मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकते. और बस
मैं आपसे एक और चीज पूछना चाहूंगी आशालता, आप कैप्टन है हमारी नेशनल टीम की. What does that bring? आपको कैसा लगता है? And as a captain, what do you think आपका role है in the team? Like what is it that you bring to the table that, like the example you set for everyone to follow as the captain of the national team?
सबको डांटना.
मैं हमेशा प्लेयर से एक्सपेक्ट करती हूँ कि मेरे को इंडिविजुअल परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करती. मतलब मैं ये नहीं बोल सकती आप इतना ही खेलना है या मैं मतलब तेरा परफॉर्मेंस इस लेवल तक जाना है या जो भी है. पर मैं इतना एक्सपेक्ट करती हूँ और मैं उनको बोलती हूँ कि मुझे टीम परफॉर्मेंस चाहिए. वो मेरे लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि हम लोग इंडिविजुअल अपने आप वो कोशिश करेंगे. एज ए प्लेयर आपको हमेशा खुद से और बेटर करने का हमेशा कोशिश करते हैं. मैं भी करती हूँ, आदिति करते हैं, सब लोग करते हैं. बट हमें टीम परफॉर्मेंस देना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. वो चीज मेरे को ज्यादा मायने रखती हूँ. और मतलब सबको एक जैसे रखने का, एज ए फैमिली की तरह रखना मेरे लिए बहुत मतलब वो चीज मेरे को बहुत मायने रखते हैं.
That's brilliant. ये family वाला बात सुन के बहुत अच्छा लगा. That I think a team has to be like that. Only then you achieve great heights. So, like this, before we end this conversation, finally, Philarima, I would like to also know what is, as a fan, as the face of the fans of women's football in India, what is one of your favorite Indian women's football sporting moment?
I mean, every time I'm supporting the national team, it's always a great time. But watching them play against Brazil, that was something very special to us. It just watching them play and just us watching it on on our phones and devices and supporting. And then I remember constantly texting in the group, talking about the games, getting everybody riled up for it. That was something very special. But then for me personally, there was this just happened recently actually. So when we had the Shillong Premier League just concluded, and one of the teams that won it was this club called Molai SC. So the women's team also had the women's team also won the Shillong Women's League. And my favorite moment in all of that was, after they lifted the trophy, was they had this entire function, they had the entire parade of not just for the men's but also for the women's team. They treated both their men and also this women's team as the superstar that they were. They had an entire party. The stadium was like filled out. They had DJs, they had music. They were like giving them mementos, celebrating them, making sure that everybody knew who they were. So that was like a very special moment for me as a fan, seeing how both the men's team as well as the women's team were actually treated equally and celebrated for all they did.
Absolutely. So that's I think what all of us are striving towards
To the
to
club.
reach that. Yes.
Well done.
So thank you so much, everyone. I think this was a great conversation. If we had more time,
long extended
yeah,
podcast.
we could have gone on and on
Thank you
about
to
it.
the editor जो भी edit
दो
करने
तीन तो हो
वाला है,
जाएंगे
best of
इसके.
luck.
So, thank you so much, everyone. I hope everyone had a great time. I know I did. It was absolutely amazing speaking to you guys. You're the stars of women's football, and it's absolutely an honor to interact with you. And if anyone else has anything else to say, then please go ahead. This is your
Make sure you guys take this podcast to every student and make sure everybody watches the under 17 game so that then they later start watching IWL.
I want to thank you for bringing us all together. I got a chance to meet Philarima and Asha for the first time as well. And it's good to see Aditi again, always.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you very much, Ria, Akash. I'm wishing you all the very, very best. I hope this podcast goes across to as many people as possible. And we'll do our bit, of course, to take it across as best as we can. But thank you for thinking me worthy enough to be here, first of all, to share the stage with you all. I should have worn the She-Kids t-shirt. I completely slipped, but
I only didn't wear.
I am late for a meeting by 2 hours, so I don't know what I'm going to tell tell those people. But thank you so much.
Alright.
See you again.
Thank you so
and I will
much.
see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Bye bye. Cheers.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.